So how can we reason about that question? Reasoning by analogy is a valid form of understanding something, and that's what we're going to do here. We're going to use a space station analogy. Each of the next frames will have a statement and a picture. And the picture is purposeful. Its intent is to give you some indication about the complexity we're talking about. When we describe something with words, you don't actually see the impact of how complex things are. So we're going to consider both. Let's begin. You wake up one day to find yourself on a space station called LEC. By your side there is a box that is labeled the answer box. You decide to give it a try. What is the outer wall of the space station made of? It answers a 7 to 10 nanometer thick biological wall. The wall adapts to be maximally strong based on the outside condition. Now, just in case you're wondering, 10 nanometers is about 100 hydrogen atoms connected together in a line. And here we have a wall that is 100 hydrogen atoms thick. It's a pretty good wall for a space station. Looking out a window, you see that material is being brought into the station. You also see that garbage is being taken out. Machines that look like trains are taking the material in and pushing the garbage out. The machines are on tracks and able to shift transmission gears. This makes sense. You'd have some sort of train mechanism on tracks to be able to push items out and to bring new content in. And you'd need some sort of transmission there to be able to do this efficiently. Walking along, you see a huge mechanic machine. Suddenly, a blueprint flies into the side of the mechanic and it starts building a new machine. Parts are provided to the mechanic by other part machines. The new machine then goes about working. And here we see three different kinds of machines. You have a mechanic machine. You have the mechanic is given parts by part machines. And together the two of them create a third kind of machine, all from a blueprint. Pretty sophisticated. Another blueprint flies into the mechanic and starts to make a third machine. The third machine begins to move, wobbles, teeters, and then veers off. Suddenly, a police-like machine tickets the malfunctioning machine. A disassembly machine appears, grabs a malfunctioning machine, disassembles it, and provides the pieces back to the mechanic. Here we have an instance of recycling, where this police machine sees something that is broken. It tags it so the disassembly machine will disassemble it and then reuse those parts. You ask the answer box, what happened? It implies that the mechanic machine receives blueprints to build different machines for different purposes. These machines all have strict quality control standards. The police machine can detect if a faulty machine is built. To your left, there is an assembly line to make other machines. At the end of the line, each machine is delivered to location, the space station. As you're walking along, you almost bump into a janitor machine that scoops up some goop on the floor. So this is a whole nother level where you have an assembly line of machines that are tailored for each purpose. And of course, when you're building something, you need something to keep it clean, so you have a janitor machine. There's a power plant machine to your right. It takes material in and produces batteries for use by the other machines. Is there some sort of software that runs these machines, you ask? The answer box replies, yes, let's go to the information center. Well, of course, machines need energy, so there's a power plant machine that makes batteries. And of course, there's an information center. Everything needs a data center. While walking, you ask, what does the space station do? The answer is it carefully creates copies of itself by a meticulous manufacturing process. At the information center, you see 23 dense-looking memory boxes. The answer box continues. The information center software is 4.3 billion bits of data. It is about the same amount as the first iPhone software. This software controls the entire behavior of the space station. So it's 4.3 billion bits of data, as much as the first iPhone. It sounds pretty sophisticated. From the software, each blueprint is drawn. In some cases, a sophisticated computer program, called computer program number 1, writes another simpler computer program, program number 2, that finally draws a blueprint on the printer. In essence, a computer program writes another computer program to draw the blueprint. That is challenging. It continues, drawing the blueprint to create the machines would be very error-prone, except there are quality control mechanisms. First, the data is stored in a way to minimize errors. Secondly, a blueprint goes through several checkpoints during memory to check for errors. Then the blueprint is proofread and corrected if needed. This quality control is important because a single blueprint can be used to build 3 or 4 different machines, and these machines all need to run perfectly. Well, here what we have is proofreading and correcting of blueprints. That makes a lot of sense, especially if you're building 3 or 4 different machines. You can't waste parts or energy on a space station. Finally, you ask, how did this marvelous space station come to be? Who designed this amazing space station? The answer box replies, it is a fortunate accident of chance. It came about by chance events with no apparent purpose. Wow. Would you believe the answer box that the space station is an accident of chance events? Does that match our experience and common sense? Well, what if it were a little more challenging? Would it be easier if the space station was about the size of a human hair? Does that match our experience and our common sense, saying this is all an accident? What if it were even more challenging? What if it were built from biological material that easily degrades, chemically reacts, or is destroyed by sunlight and oxygen? Does it match our experience and common sense that it is an accident? So to bring it all together, can you justify believing a shrunken space station the size of a human hair made of fragile material happened by accident? And that shrunken space station would have a train with a transmission, mechanic and part machines, a police machine, an assembly line to build machines, a power plant battery maker, 23 software memory boxes, software writing machines, error checking and correcting processes. Does our experience and common sense point to it being an accident of chance or something else? You may have guessed that the space station lack is really the cell. These next 2 slides list out the various corresponding biological parts that are in this analogy. You can pause the video and go and look them up if you want.